Call to order the Oklahoma City Board of Adjustment meeting for May the 3rd of 2012. If you haven't done so already, please silence your cell phones. Our first order of business is to receive the minutes of April 19th, 2012 meeting.
Move to approve.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Register your vote. The minutes are approved. Do we have continuance requests or withdrawals from staff?
We have none today.
Do we have any continuance requests or withdrawals from the public? Hearing none, let's proceed to our first case.
Item number 1, case number 13547, request for use variance of United Production Company for a permit to drill an oil gas well located at 10520 North Sarah Road.
Sir, your name and address for the record, please.
David Mira, M-E-A-R-A. My home address is 1901 Comanche Trail, Enid, Oklahoma.
Okay. We'll speak to your application.
This is the application of United Production Company to drill a well within the confines of the city of Oklahoma City. We have made all the appropriate filings, and we believe it is both in the interests of the landowners and the minerals owners to drill this well at the location that we have proposed.
Okay. We have
just for purposes of the record, United is a client of the firm, has been a long-standing client of the firm, and so I think it would be appropriate for me to recuse myself from any votes on these matters.
Mr. Spencer, you need to leave the chamber while these are being heard.
All right, thank you.
We have a gentleman here, Mr. Darren Rice, who would like to speak in opposition to your application. I would like to invite him to come forward.
My name is Darren Rice, and I live at 10910 North Sarah Road. I believe I'm going to be on the next one if there's one on the other side of the road.
Go ahead and tell us what your objection is to this application.
The application, the drilling a well behind my house, I'm opposed to it as far as where they're going to have to put it in accordance with where I live now.
It says the nearest residence is located about 100 or 830 feet away. Is that your residence?
I will be the closest residence to that property, yes.
So you were closer than 830 feet?
I'm not exactly sure where they're going to drill the well.
Okay.
Just what I've been told by my neighbor where they're going to drill the well.
And is your objection, I mean, is it the drilling itself? Is it the noise? Is it the traffic with access to the well? What is your objection specifically?
All of the above.
Okay.
Is this the case that you're?
It doesn't look like that's the one.
I don't think he's here on that case. The next one for 3.
We had registered him for 13547. Is that incorrect?
Yes, I didn't have a letter. My neighbor called me about this when I checked in. I guess because I live on Sarah Road, they put this on Sarah Road.
Can staff or Dan, can somebody clarify then? And
Is your property near Sarah Road and West Hefner?
Yes.
Okay, that's case number 13549. That'll be case number 3.
Okay. Thank you.
Mr. Mayor, are you aware of any objections to this particular application?
No, I am not.
Well, I would move to approve the application.
Second.
we have a motion and a second. Register your vote. Application is approved.
Thank you.
Item number 2, case number 13548, request for use variance of United Production Company for permit to drill an oil gas well located at 11509 North Morgan Road.
This application by United is to drill the shaded number 1-23. The location is on unimproved property, although it is within a PUD. It's an old PUD. It is agricultural in nature. We believe it's a good location. We work very closely with the surface owner to site this well.
Okay. And we do have somebody here to speak in protest to your application, Jane Robertson.
I've got a question before we go there. Maybe city attorney can answer. But do we require, or does the state require, every well that's drilled to have a surface owner's agreement?
Either an agreement or they can be forced, pooled, where they settle surface damages. That's part of the Corporation Commission process.
Okay, so it's the Corporation Commission then?
Yes.
Okay, so it's not Oklahoma City?
No.
Okay.
Ms. Robertson, please. And if you would, your name and address for the record, please.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Jane Robertson. I'm an attorney practicing here in Oklahoma City. My office address is 119 North Robinson, Suite 825. I represent Joyce and Kamal Miki. The Mikis own property directly to the north of this location. It would be the residence that is shown on the plat that is above you. It is, their residence is, according to the application, within 400 feet of the site of the wellbore. They own approximately 26 acres that runs east-west across this well location. According to the notice and application that was submitted by United Production, the subject property, which is in red up there, begins 1,198 feet from the east line of the southeast quarter and then goes west an additional 250 feet. If you add the 1,198 feet and the 250 feet, you end up at an endpoint of 1,448 feet, which actually puts part of this well location on property to the west of the shaded property. The shaded property actually ends, the westernmost line of the shaded property, if you could pull up the site plan, possibly. The shaded property actually ends at 1,142.62 feet east. So this well location is actually located in part on the property of Shanna LLC and Mimosa Properties LLC. There is apparently a surface damages agreement that has been reached by United Production and Shaded LLC, but there is no such agreement that's apparently been reached with Shanna or Mimosa Properties. And according to the city rules, as I understand them, the application must be submitted with the approval of the landowner that this location is going to be located on. So that is, to me, a primary jurisdictional defect with this application, is that the landowners on which a portion of this well site will be located have not approved this well site. In addition, the surface damages agreement that was submitted by the applicant in support of this application shows that United intends to use the Mikis private road, which is located in the northeast quarter of this section, to access the well in the southeast quarter. There is no agreement between United Production and my clients with regard to the use of that private road. And that road cannot be used without their agreement because it is under a separate oil and gas lease and within a separate drilling and spacing unit. So they cannot use that road without my client's permission. In addition, the Mikis' house is on well water. They are not on city water. Their water well is located in the front yard of the house, which means it's between the house and the well site. It's actually within the area sort of shown as the drive on that plat that you're looking at. I do not have direct footages because it has not been surveyed, but it may well be within 300 feet of the actual surveyed wellbore, and the Municipal Code, Section 3781, requires at least a 300-foot setback between a water well and a producing oil well. So we do have that issue. In addition, according to this very plat submitted by United Production, that wellbore location is in the drainage, directly within the drainage to the Meekes Pond, and you can see the pond on the plat that's directly to the west of their home. Obviously, this well location will drain directly into that pond, which is a big problem, obviously, for the Meekes. They do have livestock. They have horses that they keep on this property. So that is another problem. In addition, the southeast quarter of this section is unspaced under the Oklahoma Corporation Commission rules and regulations. So under Corporation Commission Rule 165-10-1-21, no well may be located nearer than 330 feet from any property line. The Municipal Code Section 3785 specifically adopts and incorporates by reference Corporation Commission rules and regulations, and the more restrictive rule applies. Therefore, since the applicant's own plat shows that this well location would violate the 330-foot rule under the Corporation Commission rules, and they cannot move a wellbore to a location within 330 feet out of the corner using the location that they've actually described, the 250 by 300-foot location. This location does not comply with the Commission rules and therefore does not comply with the city rules. Lastly, my client's house is clearly within 600 feet of this wellbore by their own designations. Therefore, the provisions of Municipal Code 37-86B will apply. And unfortunately, the location actually chosen by United will necessarily entail the taking out of numerous trees that are in this area that would ordinarily act as a natural buffer between my client's house and this well site. So that's a big problem. Those trees, berms, et cetera, are going to have to be put back in order to maintain this buffer that's required by 3786B. Although my clients are requesting that the variance be denied in its entirety, at a minimum, we would request the Board of Adjustment require that the applicant test both the pond and the water well to get a background level of any possible oil and gas type of contaminants, so that we would have something to test against in the future in the event that there is any runoff or pollution that's coming from this well. And we would also ask that the applicant at a minimum be required to test both the pond and the water well on a quarterly basis to ensure that the water sources are maintained. So with all of that, if you have any questions, I'll be happy to answer them. Otherwise, we would ask that the variance be denied in its entirety.
Any questions for Ms. Robertson before we excuse her and invite the applicant back?
I've got just a couple of general questions. Can you put page 2 up on the screen of our agenda? What is that AA, that real odd shape thin, is that a road easement of some kind?
It's between Morgan Road and
If you would, please
Is
speak
it a
into the
road
microphone
easement?
so we have a record.
Is that the way you propose to get to the well?
Speak into the microphone, please.
Excuse me. I'm somewhat taken aback. We have an agreement with the Mikeys to utilize their road. I've documented that and sent them the papers. And we have not had any disagreement that I knew of up until this very moment. But we have an agreement to utilize the road to access that, to also lay some water pipe for them and bury it. So have you spoken to your client recently?
I have. As a matter of fact, I have a copy of what was sent to my client on May 1 proposing an agreement, but it certainly has not been agreed to.
Well, Ms. Robertson, have you had an opportunity to speak with Mr. Mira about this?
I have not. I've just been recently retained.
I think it may be helpful for you all, at some, maybe we need to continue or table this and give you all an opportunity to speak, and hopefully you can find some amicable resolution in order to move forward before the board, because that's always my preference, for you all to work things out.
Love to,
Are you amenable to that, Ms. Robertson?
Yes, I mean, I have no settlement authority today. I just have to, make that clear to everyone. I don't have any authority to settle anything today. I'm only here to protest this.
Our next meeting is May the 17th. The meeting following that is June 7th. So would one of those two dates be acceptable to you to continue?
I would ask for May 17th.
Ms. Robertson, is that acceptable to you?
That's fine, thank you.
Board members, then, I think a motion is in order to continue to May the 17th and give the parties a chance to...
I'll move to continue till the 17th of May.
Second. We have a motion and a second to continue to May 17th. You're continued to May the 17th.
All right, thank you. May I be excused?
You may.
Item number 3, case number 13549, request for use variance of United Production Company for permit to drill an oil gas well located at 10505 West Hefner Road.
Gentlemen, this is the application of United Production Company to drill the Starry number 1-23, located, as you can see, north of Hefner Road and west of Sarah Road. This is north of the Stanball well, which was the first application today. We will be drilling on Mr. Starry's land. We have an agreement with him. We will be accessing off of West Hefner Road. The rig will be on location for approximately 14 days, and then it'll be a typical site. We have drilled 10 different sites in this area.
All right, and Mr. Rice, and if you don't mind, your name and address for the record.
Darren Rice, 10910 North Sarah Road.
Now we've got the right case, so if you would just reiterate your concerns and your
That's
objections.
my property right there, the one that would be closest to their drilling site, and that's as far as the distance from my house. I don't know what it would be, because like I said, I don't have any dimensions on this.
Is your house west of the subject site?
Yes,
Can somebody,
and also that other shop back there, that too.
so that's your home that faces Sarah Road, faces, your front door faces west? and-
Yes,
Okay. And then you've got a shop building out back.
that shop building out back.
Their application indicates about 470 feet. Are you on well water?
Yes, I am on well water.
Are there any ponds on your property or any livestock?
No, there's no
or-
ponds on my property.
Okay. But I assume that your concerns are, with the quality of your drinking water and making sure that is safe.
Yes, sir.
Any other concerns that you'd like to make us aware of?
Well, I'd like to see if they do, at least get it, move it away from my property a little farther, like the city wants it on theirs. Where I was reading it, the city wants them 600 feet from their property, and I think they could move it away a little farther from my property.
Okay. Thank you.
The location was chosen after many attempts. Unfortunately, you'll see there's a dry lake bed that is immediately east of the location, so we're keeping that far enough away so that the location, when it's built, will be outside of that. Of course, once it's producing, it gets smaller. If we move to the north, there are residential, a little more highly dense or denser residential to the north. So that really, we can't move that location much. In fact, we spent quite a bit of time with the surface owners working out that location with Mr. Bill Starry and his two sons.
And where is his property? Is he at the
He
southwest
is
corner?
the one there at the corner, at the southwest, and then the property owned to the north of his house is theirs. And then on up to the north, behind, I believe, this gentleman's property.
Does your agreement with the Starries involve testing of water and protection of their water well and assurances?
We don't, but we have absolutely no opposition to doing that. We understand that that's a concern of folks. I did that to the north when we drilled our KB number 2 right on Northwest Highway. We took water samples and
What is your typical agreement? I mean, is it in perpetuity, or is it for a specified period of time? And what's the normal, protocol for testing, and how often?
well, I don't know how you do a perpetuity. Of course, you'd always be subject to that if your surface casing failed or something happened with the well down the road. We focused mainly on the original drilling and drill the well and test the water, and then if the folks have a problem with that water, we've got a sample that we can compare back to.
And the period of time that it takes to drill the well would be how long?
14 days.
14 days.
14 to 15 days. You have some site preparation.
So when it comes to testing the water quarterly, that we discussed in the previous application, I mean, is that relevant or irrelevant?
I don't believe so. If it was relevant, I think you'd have that within your rules and regulations. I have been in the oil business drilling wells for 30-some-odd years. I have never seen a water well damaged by the drilling of a well nearby.
Okay.
There's, you set conductor pipe, you set surface pipe, and then you set production casing. So, plus the city of Oklahoma City requires a deeper setting of casing, which is not a bad thing. I think it's a good thing, and we do want to protect the water.
Could I invite Mr. Rice back? You've heard his response to your concerns about the location of the well, and there are, factors that determine, that site that they have chosen. It does sound like, that they are very willing to test your well water so that there's a good baseline.
Right.
And if there are any concerns on your part about, whether the well is safe or not, at least that's been done.
Well, my oldest son, he's 24 now. I've lived in that house for 24 years, and when he was in intensive care for 10 days when he was an infant, because I made water his formula with our well water, and they thought that was the Corporation Commission thought that was they came out there and tested the wells because they thought it contaminated my wells from some of the wells out there. Also, I don't know where they're going to enter that property at. But Mr. Starry told me that he thought that they would have to take down my back fence possibly to get their trucks in there to begin with.
No, we will not. And if that
So-
was necessitated, we would certainly.
Again, sir, I have to ask you to speak into the microphone.
We, under no circumstances, will make an entry onto anybody's property without their permission, and the way that we have this planned is not to enter onto Mr. Dennis's property at all, to stay adjoining to it. And if for some reason that was necessitated, we would meet with Mr. Dennis and compensate him for anything like that, and do that at the arm's length agreement.
As far as that goes, do you know where you would enter the property at?
We would come north into the location off of Heffernan Road.
So is that going to be within 300 feet of my property?
It's over there to the right, to the east of the water. It's to the east of the water well. Yeah, right there, and then south. Right in there.
Well, all I have to say is, I protest how close they're going to put it to my property. I've lived in that same house for 23 years, but and like I was reading in the code there that they want it where the dimensions are as far as where they want it from everything, and it's 600 feet from any public buildings, and I mean, and a public building's not housed 24 hours a day like my house is.
Understand. And I think, we're very understanding. We want to balance his right, to pursue his business interests with your rights as a homeowner that's, been there for years, and the safety of you and your family.
I appreciate it.
Is there, with the restrictions and the decision on where this well is to be located, is there anything that you might ask of them that might make this more acceptable so that they could go ahead and pursue their business interests, and at the same time you feel like, your concerns have been addressed?
Well, from what I know, I don't know if they could move it anywhere else because there's a high voltage wire that runs through there too. So I don't know if they can get too close to that to drill their well. Maybe
let's assume that we cannot move the well location based on what the applicant is telling us. Assuming that the well is where it's shown, is there anything that you would ask of them to assure that your water source is safe and that your property is reasonably protected?
I don't think there's anything they could do to ensure me that. I mean, they could say that, but as far as that goes, I don't think there's anything they could do to actually ensure me that. But, no, I would protest it.
Okay.
Thank you.
I'll just ask the question. What is the possibility of doing an offset well, moving it from that location, just hypothetically, if you will?
This area is interesting from a development standpoint. There have been wells drilled over to the west of this property, and I believe that if we don't drill this well in this area and get it done, it'll be, as development comes out, it'll make drilling and developing these minerals really uneconomic. We drilled 2 wells directionally, and that adds about $150,000 to $200,000 to the cost of drilling the well, and there frankly is just not a good way to get at these minerals other than drilling it in the site that we've proposed.
So it's the actual cost of drilling an offset as compared to drilling a straight well?
Yes, that's pretty expensive.
And how long is your agreement with the Starries, I believe?
It's a 6-month agreement, but it compensates them for, drilling on their surface. And then, but as I say, we move in, the drilling window is about 14 days. Once we've established production, if we do establish production, the site becomes much smaller.
Do you use electric pumps on all your
All electric, the drilling rig is diesel electric.
very little noise then?
Yeah, we don't know, no combustion engines on any pumping units, and we only have 3 pumping units in this area. It's primarily gas and associated liquids. Gentlemen, thank you.
Let me ask this, if I may. On the last one, 2 weeks to visit, is there any common ground, or do you each want us just to go ahead and make a motion and vote? Would a continuance help you guys? Do you want that? And I'm asking both of you.
I believe I can address all of his issues, though I don't know if I can do it satisfactorily. I can understand you just don't want a well there. I don't know if I can change that mind. However, I've got over 200 mineral owners here that have leased and would like to see their minerals developed, and I'd certainly like to see this move forward. We've made arrangements with the parties that do own the surface and who are located closer, and I believe that we can do a good job. As I say, we've drilled 10 wells up and down Northwest Highway, and done them quickly. We operate well, we have nice locations, and we take care of our property. And we'll take care of Mr. Dennis's property, and I will work with him to alleviate any concerns he has and make sure that he's treated properly. It's good to be a good neighbor.
So is that a yes that you would like, you would, a continuance to the 17th would be acceptable to you and give you and Mr. Rice a chance to talk?
Is it? I'm sure.
Mr. Rice, would you rejoin us
Okay.
at the microphone, please? The offer is to continue this until May the 17th, and that would give you and this gentleman an opportunity to talk about whatever differences exist between you and see if you can find a resolution that's acceptable to both of you.
Okay.
That's acceptable to you? Okay.
I'll move 2-week continuance then, if that's okay.
Okay, this will be a continuance to May the 17th, at which time you'll be back before this board. Have a motion?
Second.
Motion and a second. Register your vote. You are continued to May the 17th.
Item number 4, case number 13550, request for use variance of United Production Company for permit to drill an oil gas well located at 13929 Southwest 59th Street.
Okay, gentlemen. This is an application of United Production Company to drill a directional well, as we spoke about earlier, from Section 24 into Section 25. The well site is on agricultural land. We have made agreement with the owners of that property. There are no locations available in the northeast quarter of Section 25. So that's why we're drilling in a directional basis.
Are you aware of any objections?
I am not.
I would invite you to the microphone and just remind everybody that the protocol is to sign up in advance for the privilege of speaking, but we will allow you to speak. Your name and address for the record.
My name is Brandy Combs, and my address is 13900 Southwest 59th. I'm in the big circle there, I guess. I also have a pond. I have a well in front of the house. If it's directional drilling, where's it going? Is it going under my house? Is it going under my pond? Is it going under my well? I mean, I don't know any of that. So I wasn't, all I got was the letter. That's all the conversation I've had, so. I just want to know how it's going to affect me and how noisy it's going to be. Obviously, it's not going to be very pretty looking out my front door, so.
Previous testimony, the drilling occurs for about 14 days, and there will be some noise and more activity associated with that. After that, the pumps are electric, and so it should be quiet, but you have concerns, I'm assuming, over your pond and your water source, your well, and the impact on your family. Let's let the applicant respond to your concerns.
Thank you. Okay, as to the directional site, the well site is 330 feet north of the south line of Section 24. We will be drilling 660 feet directionally from that location to 330 feet south of the north line of Section 25. The directional well, what we do is we drill straight down to approximately 2,000 feet, and then we angle it over at about 7 degrees, and then at about 6,000 feet, slightly more than a mile, we'll be at 660 feet, and we'll stop that angle, and gravity will slowly pull that bit back straight. I doubt if we should be where we deviate across, or where we begin our deviation should be well over 1,000 feet. Actually, it should be over 1,800 feet below potable water. Usually, I think the wells in this area are 200 feet, something like that. 300, so we'll be 1,700 feet, plus we'll have surface casing, as we've discussed earlier in these proceedings, in accordance with the Oklahoma Corporation Commission. Once again, anybody that is concerned about their water will be happy to take a sample and provide a baseline, and if there's any issue after that, certainly we have to address that. That's part of our responsibility as an oil and gas operator. I don't expect this to be noisy in any way. There's producing wells have been in various areas. There's one immediately to the east of the property. There was one immediately to the north that just was recently plugged out. Once again, it'll be an electrified unit if there is a pumping unit, and it will be quiet. We will meet city regulations regarding fencing of the location, and I believe that I hopefully have addressed the concerns.
Thank you. Ma'am, would you approach the microphone?
Okay, so that, I guess that means you're going right under my house, basically, because I'm the little one right under it, with the shed out by the road there. The closest, yep, that's me. Do you leave the casing in the ground when you remove it? Or is it going to cause the ground to shift? My house is on cinder blocks. So I just, want to make sure all that's all good.
I don't think there are any concerns for, the structural integrity of your house, from this kind of drilling. The main thing is you want to make sure your water source is safe. You understand that, the drilling activity will be a little bit noisier, but it's of a short duration. The pumps will be electric, and, they will be in compliance with all the statutes and laws that are applicable. And he's expressed a willingness to do a water sample of your well.
Okay.
And that way there's a baseline, and if there are any concerns in the future, then you have a sample before the drilling occurred.
Okay.
Is that acceptable to you? Does that allay your concerns?
At this point, until it goes up and, mineral rights, I guess, how does that all work out? I'm not really sure about that either.
I don't believe those are a part of our discussion today. They're
Okay.
simply, asking for a variance request that allows them to drill.
That's
I don't know what the
fine.
situation
I would rather it not be there, but if he's going to work with me and we can get things, the water tested and ensure that my house isn't going to shift and everything whenever he moves it out, that's...
And again, that's what we seek to do, is balance his right to pursue his business interests with, your right to, your home and reasonable protections there. But you're offering and you're willing to accept a water sample of your well before the drilling commences, and that would allay your concerns regarding this application.
Regarding that part of it, yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Do you ever make any attempt to contact residents in close proximity to the well prior to coming to the board for approval?
The surface owners, and if we're very near, but we never have previously, usually people call us up if they have any questions. I have had no calls from anybody, including the attorney that came today prior to these hearings. It was just kind of...
Do we actually give the property owners enough information to be able to get a hold of the oil companies to be able to do that?
Yeah, they have the applicant's name, they have the case number, our number.
It might save some delays sometimes if y'all would make an attempt to do that prior to coming to the meeting. In this particular case, I'll move to approve the application if, with the aspect of you testing the well prior to drilling, and then during the process of drilling. And I think there ought to be some testing even after the drilling, and I don't know what that would be. I have no idea.
Might I propose something that that's more workable. Number one, as I said earlier, I do not know of a single water well issue associated with a drilling issue, even in close proximity. I don't know of it. And I've drilled a lot of wells. I worked here in Oklahoma City for Gulf Oil, worked for the Champlins in Enid. What I find is a better and easier thing is we take a baseline sample, and then if the landowner has a concern, if they say my water is bad or something's happened, we have that sample, they have a copy of that sample, and then we can test the water and compare it. And if there's an issue, we can address it at that point in time. But we work off of the exception rather than trying to be just testing, which usually proves nothing. The better thing is, if there's an issue, let's address it and have something to look back on to make sure that, we're comparing apples to apples.
Okay, with that, I'll move to approve.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. Register your vote. The application is approved.
Item number 5, case number 13544, request of Cat Scale Company for a variance to the landscaping requirements of the sign regulations located at 7501 South Choctaw Road.
Good afternoon. Ken Jergerson with Cat Scale Company, 515 Sterling Drive, Walcott, Iowa. We are proposing to put in a truck scale with signage at the location on Choctaw. The facility is a truck stop, be opening very soon. The scale and sign are located in the truck parking, the fueling area. Actually, it's the area as you come around the building. You'll take a left-hand turn back to the fueling area. Due to the nature of how the sign works, they drive straight through the sign. When they come up to the sign, that lets them know they're on the scale correctly, straight, and when they stop, there's an intercom to the left. If you were to put landscaping around this sign, there is no place. On the left and the right is both a drive lane, and through the middle is a drive lane. We protect our sign with, in this case, it'd be 2 3-foot concrete ballards, so we don't have an issue with the sign getting hit, to protect our investment there. For these reasons, we're asking for a variance from the landscape clause.
Okay.
And I presume you're unaware of any objections to this?
No.
I would move to approve the application.
Second.
Motion and a second. Register your votes. You are approved.
Thank you.
Item number 6, case number 13546, request of Ronald White for a variance to the 25-foot side yard setback located at 10404 Green Valley Road.
Yes, sir. Your name and address for the record, please.
I'm Ron White. I live at 10404 Green Valley Road. I'm sorry that I don't have an oil well to talk to you about. I just want to build a shed. And the only good location on my property for this shed to be able to access my drive is within 25 feet of the side yard. There is a 20-foot green belt drainage way beside my property between me and my adjacent property owner. I have talked to him and his wife, and they have no objections to my building this shed.
Is there an active homeowners association?
Yes, there is, and I have their approval, the board's approval from the homeowners association.
Okay.
I'd make a motion to approve the variance.
Second.
Motion and a second. Register your vote. You are approved, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Item number 7, case number 13551, request of Fawn Valley Homeowners Association for a variance to permit a subdivision entryway sign exceeding the maximum display area and maximum height located at 10413 Fawn Trace Road.
Yes, sir. My name is Brent Bryan. I reside at 10,012 Fawn Hollow Road. I'm representing the Homeowners Association today with this application. Back in 2001, a sign was actually constructed, and then about 3 years ago, I'll just say, prior to me moving in this neighborhood, they did this. They added this new sign there in the entryway, and what we're seeking is the approval of the variance so we can actually get electricity to that site, so we can light it and also irrigate it.
So you have an alibi, none of this happened while you were here?
I'm just here to help, so that's what I told them.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Register your vote. You are approved.
Thank you.
There being no other business, I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
Move to adjourn.
Second.
We are adjourned.